Could a single pearl, born of the ocean's depths, truly be worth a king's ransom, yet seal a queen's despair? Today, we journey through centuries of royal intrigue, following the perilous paths of legendary pearls, jewels so magnificent they became symbols of ultimate power and catalysts for unimaginable tragedy. From the doomed Queen of France, desperately smuggling her treasures from the guillotine's shadow, to a fabled wandering pearl that graced English monarchs before captivating Hollywood's most scandalous star, and a gem that witnessed the fall of two empires, clutched by fleeing Russian nobles. These are the Pearls of Power and Peril. Their stories are etched in tears, survival, and staggering fortunes. Join me as we unveil the secrets behind these luminous treasures and the queens whose fates were forever bound to their dangerous allure. Before we begin, please support my channel by clicking on the like and subscribe buttons. Thank you. So, let's begin with a gem that truly embodies our theme of power and peril, a pearl that has whispered tales for centuries. We're looking at a breathtaking natural pearl and diamond pendant, once the treasured possession of none other than Queen Marie Antoinette. Now, Marie Antoinette and pearls, they were rather inseparable, weren't they? She had an absolute passion for them, and you can just imagine this magnificent piece with its impressively large, drop-shaped pearl. We're talking about a pearl measuring approximately 15.9 by 18.35 by 25.85 millimeters, which is quite substantial for a natural pearl, gracing her renowned décolletage at the glittering court of Versailles. It's easy to picture it amidst the silks, the satins, the sheer extravagance that defined the late 18th century court. This wasn't just a jewel, it was a statement, a symbol of her status, and, as we know, a lifestyle that would soon be under intense scrutiny. It truly was a king's ransom in its own right, part of a collection that was the envy of Europe. But as the 1780s drew to a close, the glittering world of Versailles began to crumble. The whispers of discontent grew into roars of revolution, and for Marie Antoinette, the jewels that once symbolized her power now became a source of immense peril. Imagine the anxiety, the desperate need to secure what was most precious, not just in monetary value, but perhaps as a link to a life that was rapidly slipping away. In March of 1791, with the royal family essentially prisoners in Paris and planning their escape, a secret operation was set in motion. Marie Antoinette, with foresight or perhaps just a desperate hope, meticulously packed her most cherished jewels. She didn't just toss them into a bag. Historical accounts tell us she spent an entire evening in the Tuileries Palace carefully wrapping each piece. Diamonds, rubies, and of course her beloved pearls, including this very pendant, in cotton and placing them into a wooden chest. This chest was then entrusted to a loyal retainer, Count Florimond Claude de Mercy Argenteau, the Austrian ambassador to France and a confidant of her mother, Empress Maria Theresa. He was to smuggle them out of France to safety in Brussels, which was then under Austrian rule, and from there they were sent on to Vienna into the care of her nephew, the Austrian Emperor, Francis II. It's a poignant detail, isn't it? The care she took even in such dire circumstances. And as we know from history, and as Daniela Moschetti from Sotheby's so aptly put it, the jewels made it, but unfortunately she did not. The royal family's attempt to flee in June of that year ended disastrously at Varennes. The queen, who had so carefully planned for the safety of her gems, would never see them again. Her own despair was just beginning, leading to her imprisonment and eventual execution in 1793. It's a stark reminder, isn't it, of how quickly fortunes can turn and how material treasures can outlive their owners in the most dramatic ways. So, what became of these carefully preserved treasures, this particular pearl pendant among them? After years of turmoil and Marie Antoinette's own tragic end, the jewels were eventually reunited with her sole surviving child, Marie-Thérèse, upon her release from imprisonment and arrival in Vienna in 1795. It must have been an incredibly bittersweet moment for her. These weren't just valuable objects, they were tangible links to her mother, to a life that had been utterly destroyed. From Marie-Thérèse, who later became the Duchess of Angoulême, the collection, including our pearl, passed down through her heirs. Eventually, these precious items found their way into the Italian royal house of Bourbon-Parma, where they remained, remarkably, for the next 200 years. 2 centuries. Imagine these jewels, born of royal splendor and revolutionary chaos, resting quietly, largely unseen by the public, a silent testament to a turbulent past. It's quite something to think about them, tucked away, while the world outside changed so dramatically. And then, after 2 centuries of relative obscurity, this incredible piece of history made a dazzling re-entry onto the world stage. In November 2018, Sotheby's in Geneva announced an auction of jewels from the Bourbon-Parma family, and among them, the star was undoubtedly Marie Antoinette's natural pearl and diamond pendant. The pre-sale estimates were already substantial, around $1 to $2 million. But the auction itself? It was pure theater. The bidding was fierce, a testament to the combined allure of a magnificent natural pearl and its extraordinary royal provenance. When the hammer finally fell, the pendant had sold for an astonishing $36.1 million, more than 18 times its high estimate. It absolutely demolished the previous record for a natural pearl, which was held by another pearl with a fascinating story we'll touch upon later, La Peregrina, from Elizabeth Taylor's collection. This sale wasn't just about the financial value, though that was undeniably staggering. It was a global event, a moment where history, rarity, and a queen's tragic glamour converged. For collectors, the chance to own a jewel with such a direct link to Marie Antoinette is, as Sotheby's themselves said, an opportunity that comes up once or twice in a lifetime. It truly demonstrated the enduring power and, yes, the peril that these incredible gems carry with them, a story that continues to captivate us centuries later. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it, what other treasures are still out there, waiting for their moment to re-emerge? And what of its fate after such a momentous auction? For a time, the buyer remained anonymous. However, it was later revealed that Marie Antoinette's pearl pendant, along with its accompanying 3-strand necklace, had been acquired by the Austrian billionaire art collector Heidi Goes Horten. She confirmed her ownership in a rather public way in 2019, when she wore the magnificent pendant and necklace to receive an order in Klagenfurt, Austria. It truly was quite something to see these historic pieces being worn again, bridging centuries. Following Heidi Horten's passing in 2022, and amidst much anticipation during a major auction of many of her other jewels, thankfully, this priceless pearl, so intimately linked to the French queen, was not sold. It remains, according to the Heidi Horten collection in Vienna, a cherished part of her museum's holdings, a testament to its historical significance. So, after its incredible journey from Versailles, through revolution, 2 centuries of quiet preservation, and a record-breaking sale, Marie Antoinette's pearl has found a new haven, hopefully for many more to admire. All right, let's move on to our next legendary pearl, one whose very name speaks of its incredible journey, La Peregrina, the Wanderer. This pearl has a history stretching back even further than Marie Antoinette's, and its path through time is just as filled with royalty, drama, and a touch of Hollywood stardust. The story of La Peregrina begins in the early 16th century, around 1513, in the Gulf of Panama, specifically the Pearl Islands. It's a rather romantic, though perhaps somewhat apocryphal tale. Legend has it that an enslaved African man, diving for oysters, discovered this extraordinary pearl. The pearl was so magnificent in size and its perfect pear shape that, as the story goes, he was granted his freedom as a reward. Whether that detail is entirely accurate or not, it certainly adds to the mystique of its discovery. What we do know is that this was no ordinary find. Its original weight was recorded as a remarkable 223.8 grains, which is about 55.95 carats, making it one of the largest, if not the largest, perfectly symmetrical pear-shaped pearls known at the time. From the Pearl Islands, it was turned over to Don Pedro de Temez, the administrator of the Spanish colony in Panama, who then, as was customary with such treasures, sent it to Spain to the reigning monarch, King Ferdinand V, or perhaps his successor, King Charles V. It soon became a prized possession of the Spanish crown. Now, the Spanish crown jewels were, of course, legendary, and La Peregrina quickly became one of their most celebrated gems. Its journey among European royalty truly began in earnest when King Philip II of Spain, Charles V's son, decided to present it as a bridal gift. And who was the recipient? None other than Mary I of England, also known as Mary Tudor. This was in 1554, in anticipation of their marriage. It's fascinating, isn't it, to think of this pearl, originating from the New World, crossing the Atlantic to adorn an English queen, forging a link, however temporary, between these powerful, often rival nations. There are several famous portraits of Mary Tudor where she is depicted wearing La Peregrina, often as a pendant to a brooch, showcasing its impressive size and luster. It's a very visible connection to a pivotal moment in British royal history. After Mary I's death in 1558, the pearl returned to Spain, as was stipulated, and for over 250 years it remained a favorite ornament of the Spanish queens. Queens like Margaret of Austria, wife of Philip III, and later Elizabeth of France and Mariana of Austria, the wives of Philip IV, were all painted by court artists, including the great Velázquez, wearing La Peregrina. These portraits are invaluable, not just as works of art, but as historical documents, tracking the pearl's passage through the Spanish Habsburg dynasty. It truly saw centuries of Spanish royal life, a silent witness to the grandeur and the complexities of one of Europe's most powerful courts. Its wandering didn't stop there, of course. The Napoleonic Wars brought upheaval across Europe, and Spain was no exception. In 1808, Joseph Bonaparte, Napoleon's elder brother, was installed as King of Spain. When he was forced to abdicate and flee Spain in 1813, he took La Peregrina with him, along with other treasures. It then passed to his nephew, Louis Napoleon, who would later become Emperor Napoleon III of France. Facing financial difficulties during his exile in England, Napoleon III sold La Peregrina in 1848 to James Hamilton, the Marquis of Abercorn, who later became the first Duke of Abercorn. So the pearl found itself back in British aristocratic hands. And this is where some rather charming, if slightly alarming, anecdotes come into play. The Hamilton family owned La Peregrina for over a century, and apparently, its considerable weight made it prone to falling out of its setting. It's said to have been lost on at least two rather grand occasions, once in a sofa at Windsor Castle, and another time during a ball at Buckingham Palace. Luckily, it was recovered both times. Imagine the panic. It was also during its time with the Hamiltons, around 1913, that the pearl was drilled to secure it more firmly, which slightly reduced its weight to 203.84 grains, but it remained an exceptional gem. The next, and perhaps most famous chapter in La Peregrina's life, began in 1969. The pearl was put up for auction at Sotheby's in London, and the winning bidder was the actor Richard Burton. He paid $37,000 for it, a significant sum at the time, as a Valentine's Day gift for his then-wife, Elizabeth Taylor. And so, the Wanderer embarked on its Hollywood adventure. Elizabeth Taylor, a renowned jewelry connoisseur, adored La Peregrina. She famously commissioned Cartier to design a new, magnificent necklace for it, featuring rubies and diamonds, inspired by a portrait of Mary Tudor. And yes, there's the legendary story of La Peregrina once again going missing, this time in their Las Vegas hotel suite. After a frantic search, Elizabeth Taylor found one of her Pekingese puppies, apparently chewing on something. She calmly opened its mouth, and there was La Peregrina, thankfully unharmed. It's a story that perfectly captures the glamour, the slight chaos, and the sheer star power surrounding the pearl in this era. She wore it in films and to many high-profile events, making it arguably one of the most recognized pearls in the world at that time. After Elizabeth Taylor's death in 2011, her extraordinary jewelry collection was auctioned by Christie's in New York. La Peregrina, with its incredible history and its association with one of Hollywood's greatest icons, was naturally a star lot. The pre-sale estimate was around $2 to $3 million, but the bidding, once again, was intense. It finally sold for a staggering $11.8 million, setting a new auction record for a natural pearl at that time, a record, as we've seen, that would later be surpassed by Marie Antoinette's pendant. There were, of course, whispers and legends about La Peregrina, including a supposed curse of love, given the tumultuous romantic lives of some of its owners, including Mary Tudor and Elizabeth Taylor herself, who famously married Richard Burton twice. Whether one believes in such things or not, it certainly adds another layer to the mystique of this scandalous gem, a pearl that truly lived up to its name, the Wanderer, journeying from 16th century Panama through the grand courts of Europe to the dazzling world of Hollywood. Now, after following the incredible 5th-century journey of La Peregrina, we turn our attention to another magnificent pearl, one whose name is so similar, La Pelegrina, that it often causes a bit of a historical muddle, a confusion we'll definitely touch upon because it's quite a story in itself. While both are historic, pear-shaped pearls with Spanish royal connections, their paths, and indeed their very identities, diverged significantly, though not always clearly in the minds of everyone, including some of their famous owners. Our La Pelegrina, sometimes called the Incomparable, like its more famous and larger namesake, is believed to have originated from the rich pearl fisheries of the Gulf of Panama, likely discovered around the mid-16th century, near the island of Santa Margarita. It's described as a beautifully symmetrical pear-shaped pearl, with that wonderful silvery white luster, originally weighing around 133.16 grains. That's about 33.29 carats, so a truly substantial and exquisite gem. Its early history also traces back to the Spanish crown. It's recorded that King Philip IV of Spain gifted La Pelegrina to his daughter, Maria Teresa of Spain, in 1660. This was a grand occasion, her marriage to the powerful King Louis XIV of France, the Sun King. And so, La Pelegrina became part of the French crown jewels, a glittering addition to the already opulent treasury of the Bourbons. For a time, La Pelegrina resided amidst the splendor of the French court. However, as we know, the winds of change were blowing fiercely across France. The late 18th century brought the French Revolution, a period of immense upheaval that saw the monarchy overthrown and the royal treasures scattered. In 1792, during the chaos, the Garde Meuble National, the royal treasury in Paris, was plundered. Many priceless items were stolen or destroyed, and La Pelegrina was among the treasures that vanished. For several decades, its whereabouts remained a mystery, a lost gem swallowed by the storm of revolution. Then, quite unexpectedly, in 1826, La Pelegrina resurfaced, not in France, but far away in St. Petersburg, Russia. It was acquired by Prince Nikolai Borisovich Yusupov, one of the wealthiest and most discerning collectors in the Russian Empire. The Yusupovs, as some of you might recall from our previous exploration of their truly astounding collection, were renowned for their immense fortune, their exquisite taste, and a passion for collecting art and jewels that genuinely rivaled even those of the Romanov Tsars. Prince Nikolai purchased it, some sources say in Paris, others suggest Moscow, from Greek antique dealers, the Zosima brothers. And from the moment it entered the Yusupov collection, it seems a certain grand narrative began to form around it, or perhaps was encouraged. The Yusupovs themselves, it appears, often referred to their magnificent pearl as being the even more famous La Peregrina, a belief, or a carefully cultivated family legend, that would cling to the pearl for generations. While Prince Nikolai Borisovich acquired La Pelegrina, it was his wife, Princess Tatiana Vasilievna Yusupova, who truly brought it into the family's social orbit with her distinctive style. She was a woman of great character and, it seems, a rather individual sense of style when it came to her jewels. Princess Tatiana sometimes chose to wear La Pelegrina as a single dramatic earring. Can you just picture that? A magnificent historic pearl drawing all eyes as a solitary statement piece. La Pelegrina then became a treasured heirloom, passed down within this other Russian imperial family whose collections genuinely rivaled even those of the Romanov Tsars. And when we speak of the Yusupovs and La Pelegrina in its next chapter, we must, of course, picture Princess Zinaida Nikolaevna Yusupova, granddaughter-in-law of Tatiana Vasilievna and mother of the infamous Prince Felix. Princess Zinaida was an icon of elegance and wealth, and she truly adored her pearls. We have several stunning portraits and photographs where she is depicted wearing a magnificent large pearl, which we know to be La Pelegrina, sometimes as a breathtaking head ornament, other times pinned to her corsage, and most famously as the dazzling centerpiece of her Russian costume for the 1903 Romanov Masquerade Ball. And the Yusupovs didn't just wear their treasures, they wove stories around them. There was a charming, if entirely apocryphal, family legend associated with La Pelegrina. Princess Zenaida would playfully refer to it as the very pearl that Cleopatra dissolved in vinegar to impress Mark Antony. Of course, historically, this is impossible. La Pelegrina was discovered in Panama in the 16th century, well over a millennium after Cleopatra, but this story became part of their family folklore. And to enhance this legend, there was even a painting in the Yusupov Palace depicting that very scene, Cleopatra's famous banquet. It's a wonderful example of how families create an aura of mystique and grandeur around their heirlooms, blending history with a touch of theatrical romance. But, as history often repeats itself, La Pelegrina was destined to witness another revolution. The Russian Revolution of 1917 brought an end to the Tsarist regime. The Yusupovs, like many noble families, faced persecution and the loss of their vast fortunes. Prince Felix Yusupov, a man already notorious for his role in the assassination of Grigory Rasputin, managed to escape Russia with his wife, Princess Irina, Tsar Nicholas II's niece. Crucially, they also managed to smuggle out a portion of their incredible jewelry collection, and La Pelegrina, still often referred to within the family and beyond as La Peregrina, was among these rescued treasures. These jewels became their lifeline in exile. Living in Paris, the Yusupovs gradually sold off their treasures. The confusion over the pearl's identity even led to a rather public moment in 1935, when Felix Yusupov lent their La Pelegrina to an exhibition in London, catalogued with a grand provenance including Cleopatra. The then owner of the true La Peregrina, the Duke of Abercorn, challenged this, and a comparison revealed the differences in size and characteristics. Even after the direct comparison at the 1935 London exhibition revealed clear differences between their Pelegrina and the Duke of Abercorn's Peregrina, Felix Yusupov, in his memoirs, recounted his own research in the British Museum. He stated he found descriptions that, in his view, aligned the historical Peregrina with their family's pearl. Thus, the ambiguity surrounding the two gems persisted for many years. Eventually, in 1953, Prince Felix Yusupov sold their La Pelegrina. The buyer was a Genevan jeweler named Jean Lombard. Its journey wasn't quite over. In 1987, it once again appeared in the public eye at a Christie's auction in Geneva. Since that auction, La Pelegrina is believed to reside in a private collection. Its story is a powerful testament to how these incredible objects navigate turbulent times, but also how their histories can become intertwined with legend, family pride, and even a touch of deliberate mystification. It truly has been a pearl that has seen more than its share of power, peril, and the fascinating turns of human destiny. So, as we've journeyed through these extraordinary histories, from Marie Antoinette's desperate flight to La Peregrina's centuries-long wanderings, and La Pelegrina's survival through two revolutions, a clear thread emerges, doesn't it? Each of these magnificent pearls, in its own dramatic way, seems to echo that evocative phrase we've carried with us: a king's ransom, a queen's despair. Their immense value, both monetary and historical, is undeniable, capable of influencing fortunes and fetching staggering sums that truly represent a king's ransom. Yet, woven into their luster, equally undeniable, is the thread of profound human drama, the anxieties of queens facing unimaginable peril, the sorrow of profound loss, and the often crushing weight that comes with possessing such symbols of power. It's this duality, this potent mix of breathtaking beauty and the indelible mark of history, that makes natural pearls like these so utterly captivating. They are, as we've said, miracles of nature, but their stories, shaped by human hands and human hearts, transform them into something far more profound. It really is remarkable, isn't it, how these seemingly inanimate objects, formed inside an oyster, can become such powerful repositories of human experience. They don't speak, of course, but they bear silent witness to the grand sweep of history and the most intimate of personal dramas. They connect us to these incredible figures from the past, allowing us to glimpse their triumphs, their fears, and their resilience. Perhaps that's the ultimate allure of these royal jewels. They are not just beautiful, they are heavy with stories, waiting to be told and retold. And those are the tales of just a few of history's most compelling pearls of power and peril. Which story resonated most with you today? Was it the tragic Queen of France, the wandering star of Hollywood, or the resilient gem of the Yusupovs? I'd genuinely love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this journey into the world of royal jewels, please do consider liking this video and subscribing to my channel for more explorations into these fascinating treasures. I have many more stories to share. Thank you so much for joining me, and until next time, may your days be filled with a touch of history's enduring sparkle.